All right, my algebra friends. So we are going to continue on here on page 7. So we're looking at the word problems and doing word problems, and these have percentages in them. And a lot of this is just finding the cost of stuff. Yeah, like the cost of things, what you're going to pay for, what you would have paid for before the percentage was added, that kind of stuff. So like when you're trying in Walmart and you only have $10 and you're trying to figure out if $10 is going to cover whatever it is you're buying because of the tax, this is how you do it. I'm going to show you. Or wherever you go buy stuff, Target, whatever, all the same. Okay, so let's start there with number 5. It says Ace bought a tennis racket for $20 at a sale. This was a reduction in price of 20%. What was the regular price? Okay, so he bought a tennis racket for $20 and it was reduced by 20%. It was 20% off of the regular price. So what was its regular price? So X is going to equal my regular price. Okay, so X minus 20% of X equals $20. Oh, I did not put the X. There you go. Okay, so X is my regular price. This is my regular price. 20% of X is what I paid, which would have been $20. Okay, so I'm going to add this, and I'm going to change this percent to a decimal because I don't want to deal with percents. So I have X minus 0.20 X equals 20. All right, so I'm going to do this. Remember, there's always an understood 1 there. So when I do that, 1 minus 0.20, I'm going to get 0.80. And then I need to get X by itself. So when I do that, I'm going to divide both sides by the 0.08. I'm 0.80, sorry. And then X is going to equal $25. So his discount was $5. The regular price was $25. He received a discount of 20%, which was $5. All right. So let's do number 7. Number 6 and 7 are very similar. It's talking about the markup of products. Okay, so I'm a seller of something, clothes. So I'm going to buy the items at a certain price, but I'm going to mark them up a certain percent because I have to make profit off of it. Otherwise, what's the point in selling it? You want to make a profit. So that's what this is talking about. So what is the profit markup? All right, so the markup of a rug is $56. If the dealer uses a 35% markup on the cost, what was the cost of the rug? So what did the merchant pay for it to become 56, or for it to be marked up $56, okay? So it was this price, and it's going to increase to this price. So how do I figure that? All right, so X equals the cost. All right, so it was marked up 35%. So I'm going to go ahead and change that to a decimal, 0.35. And 35% times X equals 56. So 35% of what I paid is going to equal 56. Do we see that? A merchant markup of $56 is what the dealer put on the rug. The rug was marked up 35%. So how I found out, or how we see what the original cost was, is the only way to increase something by a percentage is to multiply that something by a percent. Okay, so if I was going to mark something, if I paid $10 for something and I was going to mark it up 35%, how much is that? So, and it should, I think it's $3.50 just off the top of my head, because 10 times 0.35, you just move the decimal over one. Okay, so that's how we find it out. We take the cost, or the percent that we want it to go, and we multiply it by the cost of what we paid for it, and that's going to give us the markup price. But we want to know what the original cost is. All right, so I'm going to divide both sides by 0.35, and x is going to equal, when you do 56 divided by 0.35, you're going to get 160. Okay, so $160 is the cost of the rug for the dealer. So then the dealer added $56 to that. All right, moving on over to page 8. I don't think I said this, but we're going to page 12. But moving on over to page 8, let's see, value of the property. All right, so let's do number 8. The annual depreciation of a certain property is $450 based on a 4% rate of depreciation. What was the original value of the property? So it says a lot of words, but it's actually saying the exact same thing that was said over here, except for instead of it being marked up, it was depreciated. So we want to know how much it depreciated by. Okay, so the property is 450. Well, it's not 450, but it depreciated by that. It depreciated by 4%, so I'm going to go ahead and change that into my decimal, 0.04. And then I'm going to put x because that's my value. So I just divide both sides by the 0.04. When you do that, you should get that x is equal to 11,250. That was the original price of the property before it depreciated by 4% every year. So decreased by $450. All right, let's see. Okay, let's skip number 9 and let's do number 10. Okay, so 9 and 10 are somewhat similar, but they're not completely similar. They just add a little bit. You have to kind of think some. So number 9 is a salesman receives $120 per week as a salary in addition to 4% commission on his sales. If his total pay for 1 week is $400, what was the amount of his sales for that week? Okay, so he gets $120 every week, regardless of what he does. $120 flat, doesn't matter what he does. But then for everything that he sells, he gets, in addition to his salary, for everything he sells, he gets a 4% increase to his pay. So if we're increasing it, if we're going to increase from 120, what are you going to do? All right, and then we're going to increase 4% by however many sales he made. We don't know how many that is, but we know that he was paid $400 for that week. So when you set that up, you need to know, you need to find out how much he sold, dollar amount. You're wanting to know a dollar amount of how much he sold. So 4% of a dollar amount. And that is the mystery for you to find. So 120 increased by 4% of however much he sells, which we don't know how much he sold, but we want to increase it by 4%. And then his total pay was $400. So you should be able to set that one up based on what I just said. And if you can't, then rewind the video and start again. Okay, so we're going to start there at number 10. So number 10 says, at what price must a dealer sell a chair that costs $78 to make a 35% profit? Okay, so how much is he going to sell it for? How much, what is the cost that he's going to sell something for if he bought it for $78 and he's going to mark it up 35%? 78 plus 35%, which is 0.35. Oh, not X, sorry. I know what X is. X is 78 times 78. So 35% of the total cost that I paid, and then I'm going to add those two numbers together, 78 plus that, and that's going to give me how much I sell it for. Okay, so 0.35 times 78 is 27.30. So then X is going to equal 78 plus 27.30, 105.30. It's not too hard, not too difficult. It's mostly just seeing word problems and immediately groaning and hating them with a passion. And I'm there with you, I promise. I am right there with you. I do not like word problems in any way, shape, or form. So when I see them, I immediately groan just like you. But we have to do them, unfortunately. If it makes you feel any better, you're basically faced with word problems all your life because you have to figure things out. Sometimes you don't know what your end result is going to be, and you have to work out with the pieces that you are given to get to a final result. So word problems happen forever. All right, so now we're going to be talking about interest. To solve word problems involving interest. So it gives us a nifty little formula over there that we're all going to be so happy to have and use forever. All right, so the formula that we're given is interest equals principal times rate times time. And the time is usually considered the years. So if your problem is not set up with your interest times your, or if you're given your interest but you're not given the principal, then just know that you need to move and adjust the problem so that you're looking for principal, and basically you're going to divide both sides by your rate and your term. All right, so then the other problem that it tells you, that it gives you is how much money did a man borrow at 6% per year if at the end of 3 years he repaid $23.60. So when you have to come to that one, you're going to have the annual equals principal plus principal times rate times time. All right. So over here on page 1, it says, on page 11, number 1, it says, a man had paid $175.50 in interest at the end of 3 years. How much had he borrowed at 9% per year? All right, so the problem gives you the interest, because the interest is 9%. The interest is $175.50. The rate is the 9%, and the time is 3 years. Okay, so I got interest. Interest is 175.50. 175.50. These are probably going to be easier than the other ones, as long as you remember to use the formula. All right, so and then I'm given the rate, which was 9%, but I don't know what P is. So P times 9%, which is 0.09, and then times the time, which is 3 years. Okay? So I'm going to multiply 0.09 times 3. I have 175.5 equals 0.9 times 3 is 0.27. Still needing to find my principal. So I'm going to divide both sides by 0.27. Those cancel. P equals 175 divided by 0.25. It's going to be 650. All right, number 2 says, how many years will it take $2,000 invested at 6% to earn 360? All right, so your principal, what you have is 2,000. That's how much money you've invested. So your principal is going to be 2,000. Your rate is the percent, which is 6%. And your interest is 360, what you earn. Interest is what you earn, okay? In this case, sometimes interest is what you pay. So 360. So you have everything except for your time. Your interest is 360, your principal is 2,000, and your rate is the 6%. So you just need to know how long it's going to take you, how many years it's going to take you to get to that 360. So you're going to work that out to solve for time, or to solve for t. All right, number 3 says, how much money did a farmer borrow? All right, so we're wanting to know how much he borrowed. Oops, I didn't mean to erase that. Too late, too far gone. All right, so how much money did he borrow at 8% per year if at the end of 4 years he had repaid $7,392, which also included his interest? So we know that $7,392 included his interest. So that's your A. That's what he paid. $7,392. All right, so what was that formula that they gave us? A equals P plus PRT. All right, so I'm given my A. My rate, it says, is 8%. Time and principal. Okay, so what was my principal? Do I know what the principal is? The answer to that is no, I do not. But my time was 4 years. So I've got to find my principal. So here's my formula. A equals principal plus principal times rate, which is 0.08, times time, which is 4. So multiply that. Oh, not A equals. I already know what A is. 7,392. All right, so I'm going to multiply that. 7,392 equals 0.08 times 4 is going to give me 0.32. So I have P plus 0.32 P. These are the same, so I can add them together. So I have 7,392 equals 1.03. Oh, I did it again. 1.32 P. And then from here, I'm going to divide both sides by the 1.32. And P equals 7392 divided by 1.32. It's going to give me 56. Okay. So that all right, so the total amount that I paid was $73.92. That $73.92 included an 8% interest over a 4-year time period. I need to figure out what my original investment was. What was the original cost? What did I get to begin with? Okay, so our little lesson on borrowing money that you don't have. So the question was, how much money did a farmer borrow? So the farmer went to the bank, borrowed money. Okay, I don't have money, I need it. Please let me borrow it. The bank said, sure enough, we're going to let you borrow it, but we're going to let you borrow it at an 8% interest rate. Okay, so he borrowed $5,600, and he had an 8% interest rate on that $5,600 that he paid over 4 years. So over 4 years, his money, what he was paying back to the bank, went from $56 to $73.92. So not quite $200, or $2,000 more that he paid, but kind of close. So life lesson, high school people, save your money so that you don't have to borrow, because you end up paying more than what you borrowed to begin with. You're welcome for that. All right, so number 4 says, a man borrowed $600 at 12% interest. How long did it take for him to repay the loan if he paid $180? Okay, a man borrowed $600. He's got to pay 12% interest. How long? So time. So the only thing that we're missing is our time. We have our principal, which is $600. That was the beginning. We have our rate, which is 12%, and we have our interest, which is $180. The only thing we don't know is how long it took for that interest to get to $180. All right, so it's going to be your this formula right here that you're using. Interest equals principal times rate times time. All you have to do is plug in the numbers that you know into this formula. All right, and then number 5, it says that a farmer borrowed $10,800 at the end of 3 years. All right, so number 1, we have our principal, $10,800. How much did he borrow? $10,800. That's your principal. At the end of 3 years, that's your time. He had repaid $14,364. So there, you're given an amount, a total amount that he paid over a certain period of time. At what rate of interest did he pay? So you have your amount, you have your principal, P and P, and you have your time frame, T. What you don't have is your rate. All right, so you're going to plug all those numbers in. Your amount is $14,364 equals $10,800 plus $10,800 times 3 years times R, which is my rate and my unknown. All right, so then the last one is number 6 over on page 12. So the checkup is going to be saved for the next video. So the checkup over on page 12. So it kind of gives you a little cheat here because it's asking the answer is asking for two answers here. So it gave you kind of a little cheat so that you know how to set it up. But it says a man invested $16,000. What is $16,000? your principal. He invested a portion of 6% and the balance of 8%. All right, so he invested a portion and a balance of 8%. That's two different numbers. That's two different rates. If he received $260 every 3 months, how much did he invest at each rate? So it gives you the little breakdown of it up there. P equals money invested at 6%. 16,000 minus P is money invested at 8%. And then it tells you what your time frame is, a fourth of a year. Your interest was 260. And so then you just start plugging all of that in. Interest equals principal times rate times time, plus your second problem. Principal minus, or the 16,000 minus a principal times 8% times a fourth of a year. Okay, so it already has that set up for you. So all you have to do is solve for P, and then you're going to plug P back into both of those problems at the top. P equals what was paid at 6%, 16,000 minus P is what they paid at 8%. So it already broke it down for you. You just make sure that you have two answers on that. All right. So the checkup is going to be saved for the next video. I know that I'm talking fast on these and kind of moving fast through these word problems, but they're basically all the same. You just have to rearrange where your numbers go. But the setup of all of them is the same. How you're coming about each one of these answers. You just have to know which of the answers you're supposed to be getting. Are you supposed to be getting principal? Are you supposed to be getting rate? Where your X goes whenever you're trying to figure out your percentages of sales and of money that was borrowed or whatever. Which part of the problem does your X go? Are you multiplying by X, or are you adding X? And if you're adding X, what are you adding X to? So if you just read your question and slow down for just a second and not give up after reading it the first time and just throwing your hands up and saying, I can't do this. Read through it and then go back through and say, okay, what am I looking for? When I would do word problems in college, and I had to do a lot of them, I would go and I would find what I'm looking for. And whatever I'm looking for, I would write that down. Looking for this. And then I would go back and write down, what am I given? Okay, I'm given that the principal is $4,000. I'm given that the rate was 3%, and that was over a 3-year time period. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for the interest. Okay, so that's kind of a trick that you can go by when doing word problems. Is the first thing to look at what you need to find. Once you figure out what you need to find, figure out what you're given so that you can then form your problem correctly.